They can survive your success. What wrecks them is your calm, because now they cannot reach inside you. That confuses people who expected jealousy to look obvious. They think envy attacks money, beauty, praise, titles, or attention. But your real pain starts elsewhere. You stayed kind, stayed open, and still became a target the second you stopped reacting. You noticed it in tiny moments first. The room got colder when you answered calmly instead of defending yourself. That is the part most people miss. Tonight you are going to understand why your calm scares them and how to protect it. Because calm is not just peace. Calm is closed access, broken leverage, and the silent end of their favorite doorway into you. Some people never wanted your downfall exactly. They wanted your nervous system available, your emotions reachable, and your self-doubt easy to trigger. When that access disappears, they feel powerless fast. So they start calling your steadiness cold, fake, arrogant, or suspicious. Here is your first weapon. When someone pokes at your calm, slow down instead of speeding up for their comfort. That pause does more than words ever could. It tells them their hook landed nowhere, and now they have to face themselves. Most people think resentment follows achievement. A better job, cleaner body, stronger boundaries, new relationship, different circles, higher standards. Sometimes that is true. But with certain people, your calm hits harder because it proves they no longer run your weather. They could tolerate your glow-up while you still explained everything. They could handle your wins while you still looked wounded. Success is visible and distant. Calm is intimate because it happens right in front of them while their old tricks stop working. Picture the scene that changes everything. A friend group meets for dinner after months, and you arrive lighter, quieter, impossible to read. One person notices immediately. She used to get private access to every spiral, every overthinking loop, every shaky midnight confession. Before, she could ask one loaded question. Then you would pour out your confusion while she studied your weak spots under concern. Now she smiles and says, "You've been different lately. Not warmer, not curious, just measuring whether the old doorway still exists." You answer with one even sentence, "Busy, clearer, doing well, and keeping things simple lately." Watch what happens next. She does not celebrate your peace, because peace gives her nothing to manage, interpret, or control. So the compliments come sideways. "You seem so calm now. I just hope you're not suppressing things." That is not care. That is jealousy dressed as concern, because your regulation exposes her dependence on your chaos. People like that understand one version of closeness. They feel connected when they can influence your mood, not when they can respect your center. Your success may annoy them. Your calm humiliates them, because it shows you learned something they still cannot manipulate. And that humiliation rarely arrives as honesty. It comes as sarcasm, distance, spiritual concern, fake jokes, or sudden moral criticism. They start saying you changed. Translation: the version of you they controlled is no longer available for pickup. That is why the resentment feels so confusing. Nothing dramatic happened, yet every interaction starts carrying a strange static charge. You speak less, and they push harder. You explain less, and they suddenly need more answers than ever before. This is not random tension. It is the panic of somebody losing emotional access they quietly believed belonged to them. Calm forces a new reality into the room. They can no longer predict your reactions, and prediction used to be their power. If they knew what upset you, they could guide conversations there. If they knew your guilt points, they could press them. But now your face stays neutral, your breathing stays even, and your need to be understood stops performing for hostile audiences. That breaks the script. Manipulative people hate unscripted versions of you, especially the one that no longer auditions for approval. Here is the contrarian truth. Your calm is not boring to them. It is threatening, because it removes their invisible leash. Success can be dismissed with excuses. Luck, timing, looks, favoritism, a phase, a mask, a performance, a temporary season. Calm cannot be explained away so easily. Calm suggests inner order, and inner order is hard to sabotage from the outside. That is why some people prod you harder after you heal. Not before, not during the mess, but after the recovery becomes visible. They were comfortable when you doubted yourself out loud. They knew where to place the knife when you handed them the map. Now the map is gone, so they test the borders, hoping your old reflex to over-explain still opens the gate. This is where many people make the wrong move. They mistake calm for a performance they must prove instead of a state they protect. So when the jab comes, they rush to clarify. I'm not mad, I'm just focused. I'm just tired, nothing's wrong. And that is exactly what the other person wanted. Not truth, just movement, because movement proves they still steer something inside you. Real calm does not chase misreadings. It lets wrong assumptions die of thirst instead of feeding them explanations. Try this line the next time someone fishes, I'm good, and stop talking. 2 words can save you hours. The power is not in the phrase, but in refusing to decorate it. If they keep pressing, get colder without getting louder. Already answered that. Notice the difference. You are not attacking, proving, or performing emotional intelligence for an audience that came hungry for access. Healthy people can handle a boundary. Toxic people treat a boundary like an insult because access felt like their birthright. And here is the mature distinction. Not every difficult person is toxic, but repeated punishment after your peace tells you plenty. A healthy friend may notice your quietness and ask once. A toxic one keeps digging until they recover your emotional exposure. That is why calm draws resentment in families too. Some relatives only feel close when you are confessing, collapsing, or seeking permission. The moment you stop begging to be understood, they call you distant. What changed is not your heart, it is your availability. There is another layer nobody tells you. Calm also forces other people to feel how uncalm they are around themselves. Your steadiness becomes a mirror they never requested. Beside your grounded energy, their neediness suddenly sounds louder in their own ears. That is why even silence can offend them. You are not insulting them, but your regulation highlights their lack of regulation. If this has happened to you, pause here mentally. Think of the moment someone got strangely colder after your peace became real. What did they attack first? Your tone, your boundaries, your silence, your confidence, or the fact you stopped over-explaining? Drop your experience in the comments later. Someone reading it may finally recognize a pattern they kept blaming on themselves. And be honest with yourself when you do. Sometimes the sharpest clue was never what they said, but when they said it. Was it right after your healing? Right after a breakup, a promotion, a new routine, or your first clean no? That timing matters. It tells you whether they loved you or just loved how reachable you used to be. Now back to the part that changes your life. Once you see this pattern, you stop taking the bait personally. Because their resentment is information, not instruction. It tells you where your calm is working, not where you are failing. That shift alone can save relationships from confusion. More importantly, it can save you from betraying your own progress to keep peace. You probably felt the old reflex. The tension rises, and suddenly you want to soften yourself so everyone relaxes again. You laugh a little more, you give extra details, reassure people early, and offer warmth before anyone earned that access. Be careful there. Over-comforting people resent your calm, trains them to punish you until you return to old behavior. This is where nonverbal power matters most. Hold eye contact, keep your face neutral, and let their discomfort remain theirs. Do not rush to rescue the atmosphere. Some rooms need to feel awkward, so the truth can finally breathe. People who depend on your reactions hate emotional stillness. They cannot read it quickly, and they cannot hijack it easily. So they escalate in subtle ways. A sharper joke, a delayed reply, a colder greeting, a public little dig. The worst part comes later. If you keep staying calm, some of them will suddenly act extra nice. Do not confuse that with change. Fake friendliness after resistance is often just a test to see whether access has been restored. They compliment your growth while sliding in hooks. You seem happier now, so I guess you don't need anyone anymore. Hear the hidden message. They are not describing you. They are punishing you for no longer depending on them emotionally. Here's a clean response. That's your opinion. Short answers are powerful because they create no handles. Long answers give manipulative people something to twist, quote, and revisit. You do not need the perfect speech. You need fewer openings. Another line that works when someone keeps probing, I heard you. Then return to what you were doing. That response is icy in the best way. It acknowledges their presence without granting them emotional control over your internal state. If they accuse you of being cold, stay precise. Calm is not cruelty, and distance is sometimes more powerful than confrontation. That nuance matters. A boundary is not control. It is your decision about what access to you now costs. Some people hear that and panic. They preferred the old system, where your empathy covered their entitlement like a soft blanket. Now the blanket is gone. They feel the weather they used to create, and suddenly you seem like the problem. This is especially brutal with fake friends. They can celebrate your achievements publicly while resenting your self-possession privately. Because success still lets them stand beside you. Calm makes them feel shut out, and they mistake exclusion for injustice. Remember the dinner scene. After your short answers fail to crack, she gets quieter, then starts praising someone else excessively. That move is not random either. It is a small punishment, a social reminder that approval can still be redistributed. If you panic, she wins something. If you stay steady, the game exposes itself without your help. So breathe once. Sip your drink, answer only what was asked, and let the silence show who is working hardest. People addicted to leverage always reveal themselves eventually. They cannot stand relationships where mutual respect replaces emotional advantage. And once you see that, grief may arrive. Not because you lost peace, but because you see who never truly wanted it for you. Let that grief sharpen you instead of shrinking you. The wound is real, but the clarity is worth more than denial. You are not imagining the hostility. Some people genuinely resent the version of you that can no longer emotionally steer. That does not mean you become hard with everyone. It means you become observant, slower to trust, and cleaner with your access. Your calm should not be available on demand. It is not a service for people who used your chaos as entertainment. Here is the rebuilding truth. The more you protect your peace, the fewer performative relationships can survive around you. That can feel lonely at first. Then it starts feeling expensive in the best way. Because now your relationships cost honesty, respect, and emotional responsibility. Cheap access no longer gets through the door. And that is why your calm matters more than applause. Success impresses people. Calm reorganizes who can stay near you. So next time someone bristles at your steadiness, notice before reacting. Ask yourself who benefited most from the old version of you. Then do one concrete thing differently. Shorten your answer, lower your tone, and leave one invasive question completely unanswered. If this hits something real for you, like this video. It helps more people find language for patterns they have lived through. Subscribe to The Boundary Effect and turn on the bell. Every week we decode the patterns most people miss for years. If you are rebuilding after manipulation, fake friendship, or family pressure, stay close. We go deeper than labels and straight into strategy. And tell me in the comments which part landed hardest. Was it the fake concern, the probing questions, or the resentment towards your silence? Your story may give someone else the missing clue. Sometimes one honest comment breaks years of private confusion for another person. Watch the next video if you have ever been called cold for protecting your peace. It connects directly to what we uncovered here. Because once you understand why they resent your calm, you start seeing every baited conversation before it fully forms. Their issue was never your peace. Their issue was losing access to the chaos they mistook for closeness. They lose their power the moment your calm stops asking permission to exist.